welcome. This is Lisa from Roots to Healing, and today I'm going to talk to you about grief, about the grieving process that we go through. It's a natural process when we experience loss. It can take shape in many forms. It may be a loss of a loved one, which most people associate naturally with grief, or it may be a divorce. Naturally, our relationships come to an end with a friend. We go through many stages of grief when we lose something. It may be that we have moved on from the family home, or that we've been made redundant, or maybe there's been something sudden that's happened in your life that's taken you from a state of comfort into a sudden state of loss. So that feeling like something's detached from you. This is going to feel very different for different people. When we experience grief, this natural process that we go through, we can experience some real extreme emotions and also physical states. It might be that we can feel real sadness or anger or disbelief. And sometimes we feel a bit of a relief, and then we can feel guilty about that. Sometimes there's shock. There's so many different emotions that can come up, and physically we can maybe find ourselves not eating or being able to sleep, or for some of us maybe overeating because we can't really process these emotions, and it makes us resort in drinking or taking recreational drugs or anything. These emotions that come up are so raw and so real that when we can't sometimes process these feelings, it can really affect our physical, emotional, and everything that's going on for us. So this process of grief is something that we just can't skip. It's something that you can't just, do you know what, I'm going to bury my head in the sand and hope it will disappear and go away. Or that actually, if I just don't think and talk about it, if I can just stop this from coming up, I'll be okay. Tomorrow will be okay. Yes, grief is a process, and there is no time scale on it. For some people, whatever you're grieving, you may overcome this feeling. Sometimes it feels like it never goes away. But there's no answer here. There are some things that can really help. And the first thing is just acknowledging that your grief or whatever you're going through is unique to you, and that no one will fully get or understand what you're going through. But as you are the creator of your own life, it's so important that you acknowledge and feel what you're going through. It's a healthy process. There are 5 stages that it's said that we go through when we are grieving, and that is often the first stage is denial. Oh gosh, this can't be happening to me, really. Maybe we go through that next stage of anger of, well, why is this happening to me? Maybe I'm really angry. Maybe I start to blame. Who's to blame for this? Whose fault is it? And maybe we go through that next bit of bargaining. Well, maybe if I did this and did that, this wouldn't have happened. And how can I make this not happen? And we kind of try and bargain with it and think, well, what can I do? Sometimes we go through that next stage of real depression, of real low sadness, where we feel like we just cannot cope any longer. And often when we've got to the lowest point, we then can get to that next place, which is acceptance. I'm now at peace with what's happened. I am not saying that it's not there, it's not real, but I've kind of got to that point where I can accept this is the change in my life. Whether that's I accept that loved one has passed and I am missing them and grieving them, or that relationship's ended, or that my job and career's moved on, or my children have moved home and I'm going through this. But the key is to feel all of what you're feeling. So to be able to get to that last stage of grieving, that acceptance, there's some really healthy things we can do just to help that happen. There's no speeding the process up. There's no quick fix. Grief takes shape in so many different forms for everybody. But several things that can really help is just allowing yourself to fully feel what you're feeling in that moment. So if that emotion comes up, feel it. Talking to somebody, allowing others to help support you through whatever you're going through. When you talk about your feelings and emotions, we allow us to process them and to acknowledge them. And so then that leads towards that acceptance. For some of us that find talking really hard, another really supportive way is to write these feelings down in a journal. Or if it's about a situation or a loved one that you feel you've had this loss, then maybe even writing a letter to them or about the situation that you are grieving. Just getting out there how you feel is really supportive. So acknowledging it, acknowledging how we feel, and also thinking about taking care of us. When we're grieving, sometimes we don't sleep or eat, and all of these things can be really difficult. And just trying in some little ways to just take that time out for you to take care of yourself, to make sure you set that time to feel what you're feeling. So often we can go back to work and try and carry on as everyday life is normal. And for some of that's okay. Sometimes if we bury these feelings too hard and too much, that actually what can happen is they can then come out and explode, and they can come out and be reactive. And often when we're not fully feeling and processing these emotions, it can start to really affect us in so many different ways. Finally, we're not alone. When we're grieving, we're not alone. There are people out there that want to support you. So reach out and really get that support for somebody to help you. I hope that just by talking about this conversation, it just gives people a chance to just acknowledge wherever they're at in their life. I feel there's been a lot of grief over the last year. A lot of people have found themselves in financial situations, or they maybe have lost people they love. I know myself, I've gone through a real personal grieving process. Last year, a bit of a personal share. In the space of just over 2 months, myself and my partner lost all of our grandparents. So 3 grandparents passed away in quick succession, and that was really tough, really hard. And I think I did go through these stages of, at first, sort of denial and, why is this happening to us? Why have we lost them all at once? And now I'm in a place of, I definitely feel like I've accepted it, but still it creeps up, and that's what's prompted it today. I was just reading an article in a magazine, and it took me straight back to that memory of my Nana passing away, and she was my, like a mother to me, and it brought up all of those emotions. But now I feel I've processed them. I'm able to really accept them for what they are, and to really able to take myself away from that raw feeling and be really grateful for all of the wonderful things that relationship and that experience of having that love from my Nana gave me. This is the same with when our relationships end, and when we've lost something or a job. When we go to a place of gratitude and remembrance of the things that were good, we could get caught up in, oh gosh, that's even more of a loss. We've lost that, so it hurts. But actually, if we can detach from that loss and that lack mindset and say, I was so grateful to have these experiences, those things, we know that life cannot stay still, that life evolves and continues to move. The cycle of birth and death and birth and rebirth and death is a cycle that continues. It doesn't make it any easier or any harder for what we're going through, but just acknowledging that, accepting that, feeling that, being in that is so important. So, as we finish today, just to let you know that you are never alone. Please reach out if you ever need to talk to anybody. You can reach out to myself, Lisa at Roots to Healing, or please just reach out to a friend, pick up the phone. Take care. Bye.